This lady is the meanest, the roughest, the cutest, the most beautiful.
I know you all want me, but you can't have me.
Sherri Martel. She was a wild woman, a hellcat.
Sherri Martel, a very beautiful lady, but anything but nice inside that ring.
I think the fact that Sherri was a great female wrestler made her that much better as a manager.
Sherri was probably one of the first. You actually had a woman who was a force.
You know, Sensational Sherri always gets what she wants.
She was the ultimate bad girl. I really liked Sherri because she could get in there and mix it up just like the guys could.
Sherri could scream, Sherri could yell, and even more importantly, she could back it all up.
I don't like you, and I don't care if you don't like me.
Sherri always wanted it to be the best it could be. She's right up there with the best. I'd give her a 10.
She's always supportive. She's always there. You can count on her. The best manager that a guy can have in this industry.
Welcome, everybody, to a special edition show here we're doing on this Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, depending on where you are. Tonight, we look back on the legendary career of the one and the only, the legendary, sensational Sherri Martel, who sadly left us way too soon. This will be marking the 7-year anniversary of her passing. And we have two very special guests joining us tonight, two people who probably know her better than anybody in this world. That being her son, Jared, who's actually my age, and one of her closest, most dearest, most likely one that she probably considered her sister more than just a best friend, Kathie Fitzpatrick. She will be joining us here momentarily. And as always, joined with me is Austin. How you doing, bud? How's your weekend going?
Phenomenal. Excellent. Great day today. And, I just want to, make a notice here about, today's show. It's a tribute show to Sensational Sherri Martel, that it's not going to be, a day of mourning or anything, sadness. It's going to be something to celebrate all of her memories and moments that she left with us, and she left a lot of them.
She definitely set the bar for women wrestlers. I mean, most can look back on the career of Moolah as well. I mean, she was a trendsetter, but Sherri, I think she related a lot more to the women because she was a manager, she was a wrestler, she was, she did it all, and she did it well. And her legacy even now lives on forever, and I really dig that because she was definitely one of my favorites that, in my opinion, stood out above the rest. And really, I think she was, if anything else, she was an inspiration to a lot of the women today.
Definitely, and she wasn't a person just got into wrestling just to get into it. She was a fan since she was a child. I mean, her mom took her to the wrestling events up to, it's kind of like the same similar story to Baby Doll, who actually had on a few weeks ago. And also a manager who also went to the shows as a child and got introduced to the wrestlers themselves, which eventually the same thing Sherri did to get into this business, and led her to everything she's done.
Absolutely. I mean, above anything else, they tonight we look back at not just the character of Sherri Martel, but also the woman behind the character. The woman, because those who've seen her knew how they've seen her as being this mean, vicious, person you didn't want to mess with because it wouldn't be above her to scratch your eyes out. But away from the camera, one of the most sweetest, lovable, caring people you could ever meet. I've heard that so many times, and I got to see that firsthand because I got to watch her induction live in person in Chicago. No, I'm not bragging. I'm just very proud that I was able to be there. But, and just how appreciative, she was just so thrilled to be there, that people were remembering who she was and what her legacy was in the wrestling business. Because she worked hard. She worked harder than most will give her credit for. And she was a hard-working woman. And I'm just glad I was able to see her.
And, I always say this about her, that the people that she managed didn't necessarily, there's some that probably needed a manager like her, but people like Randy Savage and Shawn Michaels, of course, with their talent, they could have gone far still without her, but with her, she added so much to the character, like just to them, and you wouldn't think that, Shawn Michaels and Randy Savage, there doesn't need to be any more additions to them being how larger than life that they are. The Sensational Sherri did it, and she did it really well. And I don't think, if Shawn Michaels, for example, without a doubt, if he would have went far still without her, but with her, he made her character so much better, you know.
Exactly, I was going to say, yeah, exactly, because above anything else, she pushed his character up there more. She was more about making him a star, which was he was on a star. He was a star that was on the rise at that time, and that notoriety of being with Sherri, it definitely elevated him to the next level. Not that he needed too much help, but you know what? In a way, he kind of did. He was just fresh off of leaving the Rockers. You know, he was still getting adjusted to being on his own and being, you know, eventually going to be in the biggest star at the time. Well, I guess in the 90s, really.
And if anything, I mean, she helps him get to that level, get to that you know, the main event mentality as a wrestler, as a performer, and Sensational Sherri, you know, being at ringside really boosted him up to being that main event guy. You know, eventually going on to win, you know, the Intercontinental Championship, WWE Championship. Even though, I mean, I don't think she was with him when he won the WWE title.
No, but I mean, she was able to come back in 2005 and be a part of that crazy storyline that Shawn had with Kurt Angle, and the little funny skit that she was having fun. You can tell she was, and it was, if anything, it was fun. I think above anything else, and I keep saying that, but I mean, in reality, she was a lot about having fun. You know, I'll tell you what. I want to ask you right on the spot before we bring them on, if you could name, maybe, if it's possible. If it's not, then I'll think of one myself. But if it's possible, could you name maybe one favorite moment of Sherri's career? I don't know if that's possible.
Yeah, and we talked about this on Tuesday when people put me on the spot with the moment things. It's so hard because she's so great. Let me think. I'm going to name one just because, you know, I want to put my 2 cents in. But I think my favorite moment, and it wasn't really much of a moment. I think she had a lot of them that were awesome. I mean, but with Shawn Michaels, I think she added, like I kept on saying this, she added so much to him, and the stuff she did at ringside. I mean, if you didn't notice her, you definitely heard her, because he was definitely making her. And even sometimes you couldn't hear the commentators, but she was really into it, and that's what made her stand out so much, because she was so into it that she really put her all into it, her voice into it, to let him know where the guy who was, you know, was wrestling. For example, I mean, like Shawn was wrestling somebody else, whoever his opponent was that night, and made him know that if Shawn Michaels didn't win, no, he would have a problem with Sherri.
And what I liked as far as it really had to take a special person to work with somebody with the intensity, the sheer intensity, and just volume turned all the way up to like 100 to work with Randy Savage. And working with Randy in that time, and Sherri she knew what she was doing. She knew she worked well. They wouldn't have chose her if they didn't think she could do it. I remember she talked about that in an interview that's on YouTube about Elizabeth coming up to her and talking about her working, Sherri working with Randy for a while Liz went home for a while. And the work they did together was magic. Not many people like to they remember Liz and Randy. I'm not saying I don't either, but I always enjoyed the work that Sherri and Randy did together. They were a great team. Go ahead. I'm done.
Oh, I was saying that the reason why is because you have 2 over the top personalities like Randy Savage, and you put Sensational Sherri right by him. That just made it larger than life on to the 10th level, you know, to the nth degree, and that's how they were. And I'm not saying that Miss Elizabeth and Randy weren't good, but Sensational Sherri and Randy were the couple that
they were good at being bad.
They were really good at being bad. Exactly.
Well, I'll tell you what. I don't know about you. What do you think? Should we go ahead and give them a call?
Yeah, definitely.
We'll call Jared here first, and then we'll get Kathie on.
And Jared is actually the son of Sensational Sherri. If anybody didn't know,
some people did. Some people didn't know that. Some people never knew that she had a child, but he traveled with it quite a bit. Anyway, here we go. We're going to call Jared, the son of Sensational Sherri. Here we go.
Hello.
Hey, Jared, this is Felix, and I have Austin here with me. How you doing?
What's going on, man?
Not much. We're just sitting here just chatting about some of our favorite moments that your mom did in her long career. It's hard to choose just one, but we try to narrow it down to one if we could.
Favorite? I would have to say when she was climbing the cage in one of the pay-per-views.
Oh, wow.
And her skirt had, she was showing a little bit of her lower region, and some of the heat she caught about it. That was one of, yeah.
That was crazy. But yeah, I was just talking about. I was telling my partner here that you had to really be a special person to be able to work with somebody the intensity that Randy had. Those two were really good at being bad.
From what I understood, Randy actually is the one that acquired about working with Mom.
Oh yeah, that's correct. Actually, I saw that in an interview. Sherri was talking about that Elizabeth came up to her and told her that she was going to be working with Randy. She didn't have a clue. It's like, oh, how do you feel about that? You know?
Mom and Elizabeth had actually a very good relationship. I spent lots of time in backstage with Mom and Liz. And they were two people that, you know, another one that Mom loved working with was Woman.
I remember her.
Another one she loved working with was Luna Fashan.
I love Luna, yeah. Those two were crazy together, but they were awesome to watch.
Oh, Mom and Luna goes all the way back to Japan.
You know, I bet you my partner knew about that one, didn't you, Austin?
Definitely. Anything Japanese related, I am on top of. But, you know, you're just saying, you're speaking of, you know, Woman. And what I loved about them, too, is because Woman has that sweet, not really sweet, but that kind of subtle voice. You know, when she's talking and she has that kind of speak about her. And then you have Sensational Sherri, who's just loud, over the top. And then that's how I think that they were just so, you know, when they're working together, that's how they kind of contradict themselves.
Oh, Mom just had a way of making people love to hate her. You know, that's one. You know, Mom. You know, for like whenever I was growing up, Mom actually tried to shield me from most of it until I was in my older teenage years. Not really, you know, people knew she had a son, but never knew who I was. And I didn't mind that. She actually had me traveling with some of the boys at times. You know, it was definitely family. It was a family thing because they got it to where, you know, they kept me away from everything. Because you got to understand, Mom was hated in those years.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
You know, me growing up, man, they said some really bad and vulgar things, man. I actually, you know, the reason why they had me stay away is because I went after somebody. Me and my mom have, like, I have a temper like her.
My God, well, I wouldn't want to be around you when you get mad.
Yeah. Well, no, I control it, but you know,
but when they're talking about somebody, I will. Of course, you want to jump in there, you know.
Oh yeah, I will definitely shoot on somebody in a heartbeat. I got a mouth just like her. Mom used to, whenever she would be getting ready for a show growing up, and it's like Mom would be sitting there with her notepad, and some of the stuff that I would blurt out whenever I was like just like going back, like building heat, going back and forth with Mom would write some of it down. And I've actually heard some of the stuff I say on a regular basis. You know, I've heard her use it. And I was like, you know, I'd call her up and I'd be like, well played, Mom. Yeah.
And he said that she's good at making people hate her. And I'm like, when I can't hear what Bobby Heenan has to say on commentary, that's a problem. And he's talking over him. I'm like, I want to hear what Bobby has to say. And Sensational Sherri's just screaming, and that's what it's made her stand. That's why people remember her most, because she made herself known around ringside.
Yeah, Mom screams like a banshee because, for one, it draws attention. It's Mom always said, I don't want to take any spotlight away from my boys, but I want to draw as much heat as possible and as much attention that, Mom was definitely one of, the founding, women in that business whenever it comes to people in the corner. My mom always said she wanted to set the bar high and set an example. And I think at her job, she did exactly that. You can't ever take anything away from her.
You know what? Would you be okay if I go ahead and give Kathie a call and bring her on now too?
Who?
Would you be okay if I called Kathie and have her join us on the conversation?
Oh, definitely.
All right, let's get her on. We can tell some good stories. All right, give me just a second. And then while we're doing that too, later in the show, we'll go ahead and play a couple of clips for you guys and see what you think.
That'd be great. I'd love to hear.
Got stuff from. I've got a few from I got one from the AWA. I got one from WCW, one from TNA, and a few from WWE.
Yeah. Are you gonna let me know whenever you start the show?
Oh yeah, we are actually live right now.
Okay.
Call her to bring up, we're on air right now. What I was gonna do is when I get you both on, we'll play the clip, and then you guys can check it out, and we'll talk about it and go from there.
Oh, definitely great.
Here we go. Getting Kathie out here now.
Hello?
Hello, is this Kathie?
Yes.
Hi, Kathie. This is Felix. I have my partner here, Austin, and also Jared here. We are actually now on the air.
Hey, and Kat.
Hey, Jared.
I swear I will mind my manners.
Are you sure you will?
Miss Fitzpatrick, we really thank you for taking time to come on and help us remember such a super lady. And who better to do that than her son and her best friend that she even talked about in her Hall of Fame speech. Who knew her better than you guys? I don't think there was anybody that knew her better.
Yeah, me and Kathie were talking earlier about just times on the road. So, yeah, we had a little session earlier.
Yep.
So, Kathie, what kind of experience, what kind of stories do you have to share? What kind of woman was Sherri away from the ring?
Sherri was probably the most giving and outgoing person ever. When she would come into Philly with WWE, there was always a young man. He was severely handicapped. He was always in a wheelchair, and he had a dog with him. And we would be going into the restaurant or something, and she would always stop, sit, talk to the young man, and literally sit on the floor and play with the dog. She always had time for anybody for an autograph. And, there was so many times where Tony Chimmel from the Ring Crew, when his little kids were born, every time she'd sit there and hold the babies and play with them, and that was Sherri. She would always be giving, and she would stop and chat with anybody about anything.
Always made time for her fans.
Always, because that's why she did it. She lived for the business.
I love that. That is so awesome. And actually, I wanted to bring up something about a road trip that I can't remember how you phrased that, Jared. Some kind of particular road trip that your mom and Kathie went on, and I forget how you asked me. I forget that particular idea. It's some kind of road that you guys took or something. I'm lost.
Oh, the Sherri Lane.
There you go. That's it.
The Sherri Lane.
I remember.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
The cops don't know about it though. That's the thing. Hey, we always it's always that conflict of interest, But that's how Mom got to her shows.
The Sherri Lane. So that's like her own roadway. What's the behind? Talk about it.
Yeah, if you jam up traffic and you have an open shoulder, don't think my mom wouldn't go hit it in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah,
hey,
I can definitely know.
And especially and she would it was even better because you would hear, "Hey, y'all, watch this."
Mhm.
And I was saying, besides the manager that Sherri was, she was also a 3-time AWA Women's Champion. That's never been done before. I mean, she was a 3-time AWA Women's Champion, and she was brought in to the AWA where she kind of got her start.
And such a practical joker. Itching powder in my underwear. Orlando, Florida, SummerSlam. This is whenever they were working with who they were. Oh yeah, they were working with Mr. T. And I remember Mom putting itching powder in my underwear, put water in my boots, and put them in the freezer.
Oh my goodness.
I remember one trip that she and I went on with when she worked a show with for Jim Cornette. She was managing Tracy Smothers. Now, you know how it is down south. If you're up north, they do not like you. And I'm standing there, and she was working with Tracy Smothers against Tammy, Sonny, and Brian Lee.
Yeah.
So I'm standing there, and I'm helping her out, selling her pictures. Well, this woman walked up, and Bobby Blaze was sitting next to me, and we're all selling pictures. And Sherri just turned around. She goes, "Well, this is my sister." And I went, and she goes, the woman looked at me that was buying a picture with literally one tooth in her mouth and said, "I want you to kick that northern girl's butt." Okay.
Whoa.
I'm from New Jersey. I'm not opening my mouth. And Sherri goes, "Well, this is my sister. She's from New Jersey." And I just went, "Hi." She goes, "That's honey. She goes, "You got Southern blood. You're fine."
My mom had a way of throwing people under a bus, quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Mhm.
And it was always, and sometimes it was the best timing because it was just great. Because my mom could pretty much roll just off of anything and play off of it. That was a great thing about her.
I love that. You know what? I actually wanted, since I got you both on the line, I'm going to start playing a few of these clips to listen back on some of the Sherri's accomplishments. Would you guys be okay with hearing a few clips?
Sure.
Oh, definitely.
Awesome. All right, we'll start with the very first one. The first one I have here is the closing moments of her final match in AWA. Hang tight, guys.
Here's a cover. This may be it.
Oh, 2.5 counts. That was so close. It was scary, Rod.
Sherri for Sherri. And it is Medusa Michelli continuing on the attack of Sherri Martel. A couple of clubbing forearms. And now a clothesline. And again a cover by Michelli. And again the count. but only to 2. Sherri Martel coming very, very close to losing that championship here in Super Clash number 2, side headlock by Michelli. And a hard shot to the head. Medusa Michelli may indeed be a prophet. Here's an airplane spin. Around she goes, down she goes. Here's the cover.
He has got her down to the count. Summers knows it. Summers knows it.
And across on the other side, Summers detracting the referee. And now you see what Sherri Martel has done. And here's a count of 1, 2, and 3. And the distraction by pretty boy Doug Summers indeed has precluded Medusa Michelli from taking the championship belt here from Sherri Martel in the Cow Palace in San Francisco, California.
And there you have it, folks. It looks like Sherri and Medusa definitely weren't, well, they were definitely familiar with each other when they had gotten into WCW, that they were working definitely back in those AWA days. Did you guys get to, were you traveling with her during those times in the AWA?
I don't know if y'all are too familiar with it, but my mom actually trained her.
I believe that.
Really?
I do believe that.
My mom. You correct me if I'm wrong, Kathie, but from what I remember, Mom brought her in.
Mhm.
There was always a little bit of heat with them two. I don't know what it was about necessarily.
Oh.
But
okay. Sorry.
It was No. That was but they always worked well together. But Mom was definitely a professional and worked pretty well with anybody.
She did.
And she was a 3-time AWA champion, women's champion.
Now, that's something that doesn't get to happen very often, at least not back in the AWA days. I mean, I'm sure Vern had great respect for Sherri's work. I mean, she got to learn pretty well with Vern and Greg, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. My mom loved the Ganyas.
Because I don't recall, I mean, I know that Austin was talking about that too, that to have an accomplishment like that is pretty unheard of, at least back then that I can recall. I know that, but I'm pretty sure she had a good relationship with them. I mean, she was a good worker, and Vern could see that. And, for him to make her his champion was definitely something huge.
I do have a question. The particular belt we're talking about right now with the AWA, is that the red, white, and blue strap she had?
I think so. Because I remember in 1963 they brought it up, and then they vacated it in like 64, I think, and then brought it back in 1970 something.
Got my own little historian here, guys. Thanks.
it would have, because I know Mom went to work for AWA. It was right after 1978, whenever I was born. My mom started in the business from what I understand, when I was 6 months old.
And you've been on the ride ever since.
That it did. I grew up around this business, and my mom was there as much as she possibly could be. She always, she was really hard on herself with the way she was about me. But I'm gonna tell you now, I couldn't ask. She always did what she had to do. Mom was definitely a trooper. That was, really, I didn't lose my mom that day. I lost my, a good friend.
Absolutely.
Me and Mom kind of had a falling out, and I patched it up. We patched it up right before, the day before Mother's Day in 2007.
I definitely understand.
So.
I do have another one here, and we were just talking about that earlier too. Before you guys came on, Austin and I were talking about the impact and the inspiration Sherri provided for a lot of the women today. One of the clips I was going to play for you guys, because when she actually defeated the Fabulous Moolah to win the title.
Which Moolah is the one that trained my mom.
Mm-hmm.
That is correct. And she was actually talking about that too. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I may say this name incorrect. It's Lillian?
No. Lillian Vachon?
No, not Vachon. Lillian, I believe her last name is
Moolah.
Yeah, Lillian.
Yeah, Lillian with Moolah. Yeah, she definitely, she talked about that in her speech too, that she was trained by Moolah, and, you know.
Yeah. And from what I understand, at first, Moolah actually didn't want to train Mom, and Mom talked her into it.
Yeah, from what I understand, the wrestling business is so guarded back then, you really have to earn your stripes. I'm pretty sure your mom did.
Oh yeah.
Well, Moolah, she had a reputation for when she was training girls to really want to try to break them, not break them into the business, but break them literally. Try to break them and get them down so much that she basically wanted them to walk away. And if they didn't, that's how she liked them to earn respect for them.
No, Mom never knew when to walk away from anything. Mom was definitely, she. If she set her mind to do something, you couldn't tell her different. Mom always finished what she started. And that's one thing about this in this business, my mom, I'm not trying to, put my mom over the top, but my mom has definitely made some careers.
She did. I agree with that.
I wouldn't, I'd be selling her short if I said that, some of these guys in this business today wouldn't be where they're at if it wouldn't be for working with Mom in the beginning. Because they all feed off with each other.
We're just talking about that when she was working with Sean. I mean, he was on his way up, and just the association of working with somebody who, with the reputation your mom had, anything she touched gold, and it was just proof right there in the action. She helped Sean get to the next level, and I really think that I credit her for making his career what it is. I mean, at least in the
and from what I understood, like from what I've heard over the years and everything, at first Sean didn't want to work with anybody.
I believe that. Mm-hmm. I've heard he was kind of hard to work with way back when.
Yeah, were you there for my 13th birthday, Aunt Kathie?
Yeah, I was.
Do you remember right before Sean went out to the curtain for his pay-per-view, how much trouble I got into because I hit him upside his head with a piece of cake?
Uh-huh.
Oh, my God.
Earlier
I
that
bought
day.
The cake.
You bought the cake?
Remember, I bought the cake.
Okay, well, earlier that day, whenever they were cutting the cake, Sean blasted me in my face with a piece.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw him. I saw him bouncing around in the hallway, fluffing up his hair, like he always did, because he had to be perfect. And I went grab a piece of cake, and they were like, "Where are you going?" I was like, "I'm going to do something." And they knew anytime they see me running around the back looking for something, I'm up to something.
Mm-hmm.
And before they could grab me, I had already threw the cake. And, yeah, Sean was about to jerk curtain and go out. If I'm not mistaken, it was for a pay-per-view.
No, it was in Philadelphia.
Wow.
It was in Philly?
It was in Philly. It was a house show.
Okay. Well, but, yeah, Sean was pissed, and Mom kind of laughed about it that night. But I got, Mom definitely had her own way of parenting.
And I can't imagine how mad Sean would be if you would have done the 2-minute actual show before he went on TV. Oh my God.
Well, you know what, guys? I'll play another clip here for you. This one is a different one that's going to be a little further in as she was in WWE. And Randy Savage was going to introduce her as his new manager. Hang tight, guys.
didn't. You can't beat me. You never could beat me, and you will never beat me. And the only reason that I'm not the World Wrestling Federation champion at this time is because of your manager. It's because of your manager, Miss Elizabeth. A conspiracy. I was distracted more than one time. I didn't see it at the time, but I see it now. Miss Elizabeth, I'm done with you. I'm through with you. But Hulk Hogan, I'm not through with you. Oh, no, I'm not. I've got me a manager. I've got me a new manager that is loyal, that is faithful, that doesn't have wandering eyes. It is not possessed by lust. I've got me a manager that is more gorgeous than Miss Elizabeth ever could be. Hulk Hogan, I got me a manager that is unbelievably sensational. You mean? Oh yeah, sensational Sherri.
Brilliant, McMahon. What a brilliant maneuver by Randy Macho Man Savage. Here I thought he'd name maybe Bobby the Brain Heenan, maybe the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, but instead, Sensational Sherri. Terrific.
Welcome, Sister Sensational. Welcome.
Miss Elizabeth, I know you're out there. And Miss Elizabeth, I know that you can hear me. Miss Elizabeth, I have something to say to you. I am more woman than you have ever dreamed of being. Look at this. One other thing, Miss Elizabeth. I have one more thing to say to you. Can you hear me, Miss Elizabeth? Are you listening to me, Miss Elizabeth? Eat your heart out.
How dare her compare herself to Miss Elizabeth? That makes me sick.
I present to you now the Macho Man, Randy Savage, and his new manager, Sensational Sherri.
And there you have it, folks. If there's anybody that would be able to match the intensity of Macho Man Randy Savage, it was definitely Sensational Sherri. I loved them two together. They were awesome. Would love to hear. We spoke to Jared about working with Randy and Sherri. Kathie, I wanted to ask your opinion about what did you think about with Randy working with Sherri?
Well, they were definitely Randy would always be like, super intense. And Sherri would be there to like, okay, calm down. We do it this way. Calm down. But she was always, she would always work great with anybody she'd work with. Whether it was Ted, whether it was Sean, whether it was Randy, Booker and Stevie, she made them shine. It wasn't about her. She was there to make them shine.
My mom looked at it like, her job was to make whoever she worked with, that was their spotlight. She was my mom was an accent piece. She always made whoever she worked with look even that much better.
Yep.
And my mom never tried to take anything away from anybody. She would only add to it.
Well, besides the atomic drop, I remember seeing her many times take that gorilla press from the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah. Warrior too. And she would also jump off the top rope, and she would fall. She did that one time to Sting in the WCW when she was with Flair, and she dove off, and that's no easy task. I mean, to just jump and just fall on somebody, I don't know. She took all kinds of bumps, but I think above anything else, maybe some people saw that they took some more than others. But
my
it's
mom
cool. I mean, she wasn't above not going out there and taking bumps for the good of the business.
Mom jumped off the top rope. I want to say it was in Berkeley, California. Blew her knee out and still finished the match.
Mhm.
My dad's sister, Betty Adams, was actually there doing photography for that show, and she couldn't believe it. She goes, she finished it like a champ, but key word, like a champ. Mom did what she had to do. My mom earned every title she has ever gotten. And to me, she wasn't given the opportunity to get the titles she didn't have, because something, some of the guys would not have had straps around their waist because she'd have had them too.
Amen.
She was definitely good at what she did.
I couldn't agree more. With your permission, guys, I do have one other clip here. This was more into the later 90s, into the early part of the 90s, as before she started to work with Sean. She had come on to the funeral parlor with Paul Bearer, talking about wanting to work with Sean. You guys remember that?
Yep.
Yeah.
I would love to play that clip for you guys if you're okay with that.
Sure.
No, yeah.
Awesome. Here we go, guys.
Boy, this guy really give you the willies, won't he?
Yes, he will.
Welcome once again into my funeral parlor. My guest this week is none other than the sensational one, Miss Sherri.
All right. Now this will be a most interesting funeral parlor, as there she is in all of her splendor. Bound.
Everybody.
Whoa. Paul Bear, that's the most animated I've ever seen him. He's almost alive. Look at that dress.
So lovely, so happy, so alive. Have you been to a funeral?
No, Paul Bear, I'm on cloud nine. I found the man of my dreams, Paul Bear.
Oh, does this mean you're in love? Who's the lucky guy?
Oh, Paul Bear, I'm in love with a man that has long, blonde, flowing locks. I'm in love with a man that has a body sculpture that even the Greek gods would envy. I am in love with a man that has the most wonderful wrestling ability that any one person
Gonna fit me, McMahon.
is blessed to possess. I am in love with a man that even has an animal magnetism that makes my blood run hot. I am in love with Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels?
Yes, Shawn Michaels. Now that he and Marty Jannetty are no longer a team or an item, Shawn has never needed Marty Jannetty. Never, ever needed Marty Jannetty. And now that he's gotten rid of the deadbeat, he has all the time in the world to accept the love and everything that I have to give him.
Oh, the Sherri. What about the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase?
My teddy bear is a wonderful, giving, and very loving man. My teddy bear has left the door wide open for me to return at any time to his side. And my teddy bear has given me gifts that any woman in the world would dream of having. My teddy bear only wants what makes me happy. And my teddy bear knows that what makes me happy is giving and sharing all of my wealth with Shawn Michaels.
My goodness, can you imagine? Sensational Sherri. Some guys have all the luck, don't they, McMahon? In love.
I love and hearing all the comments and knowing that we've lost Percy and we lost Kurt. It was a good. I really enjoyed that clip. I don't know about you guys, but that was a lot of fun to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, it's kind of that kind of, you know, that touches home, man, with her, with Shawn, because the tribute tattoo that I have on my
chest
you were
telling me about that.
it's man, really good guy, man. They got I live here in South Louisiana in Lafayette. They got a shop out here that one of the tattoo artists approached me, Josh Toby, really good friend of mine now. We've become good friends over the years, and he came up with a piece. It's actually I don't know if y'all remember the outfit my mom wore. It's the heart with the lace, with the jewel hanging, and it has her, and it has the year she was born and the year she passed with her name under the bottom. And he actually got in touch with me recently, man, and I got to get to the shop this week. And they're actually going to be finishing the piece. You know, I love Josh to death. Him and the guys at Skin Deep put a lot of thought into it, and they came up with a piece. So I'll be posting that picture probably later on in the week. I'll send it to you directly and let you go ahead and put it up there.
Absolutely.
My mom told me a long time ago her job in that business, most of the time, with her being a heel, her job was to make people hate her. You know, and my mom said, if they aren't talking about me and they're not making comments, I'm not doing my job. You give me 5 minutes, they will hate me.
I can see her still saying that, too.
No, man. But, you know, at the same time, these are the same people that are yelling and screaming obscenities at the end of the show when they see her, want to give her a hug, get her autograph, and take a picture with her.
Exactly.
That's when you know you're doing your job right. Mm-hmm. My mom was so good at being bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think Kathie will give that an amen.
And, you know, and it's no matter what, and I've heard Eric Bischoff say the same exact thing, that no matter if it's good publicity, bad publicity, it doesn't matter what it is. If they're talking about you, it doesn't matter if it's negative, it's still good. That's what Sherri's about, too.
You know, and it's great because over the years, you know, not like me and Kathie hadn't had, you know, disagreements or anything like that. You know, we've always gotten along. But, you know, I guarantee you.
It's called the road of life, Jared. There's always a little bump in any relationship.
Yeah, I've definitely grown up a little bit, just a slight bit.
Yes, you have.
A little bit.
But, you know, like, Kathie, she was one of them that my mom trusted with me. And if, you know, people really don't know the story all that much, but there's not very many people my mom trusted with me. One, I was a terror. Whoever was watching me, I would try to duck them. But I couldn't get away from Kathie. I could never get away from Kathie.
Well, I also had a couple big people that would watch you named the Road Warriors.
Well, yeah, Hawking, Animal. You know, and I have to say this, you know, and there, you know, I know this is Mom's show, but I'm gonna say this, okay? Hogan, Animal, Barbarian, Hercules.
Mm-hmm.
These are all guys. You know, back in the day, you know, the business is no longer what it used to be. It used to be about family and everybody sticking together. And, you know, them guys, they all watched each other's kids, man. They, you know, whenever I would start getting a little haywire and everything, you know, I didn't realize that I used to like playing with Hercules' chain. He would give it to me in the airport and let me play with it, and, you know, I'd carry it around. I didn't realize what he was doing. He was just letting me wear myself out.
Exactly. And that makes perfect sense, too.
And it was really funny because I was loving it. I was getting to hang out with, you know, I looked up to all these guys, you know. I met Booker when I was 17 years old. And still to this day I look up to that man.
Mm-hmm.
He's a hell of a guy. And, you know, he was another guy I wanted to bring on as well. Unfortunately, time scheduling didn't allow it, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's really funny, you know. I grew up around all these guys, you know, and it's like Booker, you know. It's at times, you know, you get calls, you know, I'm acting up. My mom always kept tabs, seeing what I was doing. I'd get a call, you know, from some of the boys. I remember getting a call from Booker one time. And Booker said, you know, kid, you need to get your heads right. Get your act together. And I'm like, you know, they all of these guys my mom has worked with has had an inspiration in some part in the development of the person that I've become today. And I really give a shout out to all the guys she's worked with and all those guys back in the day, you know, because I wouldn't have grown up like I did. I don't know too many people, you know. Come on, I had a great childhood when, you know, I was able to travel with guys that people wish they could hang out with.
Amen to that. I've heard you told me so many stories too.
Oh man, Kathie, it's like, you know, I was like, I had ADD. I was running around bouncing off the walls. But they always found a way to keep me, you know, from doing something dumb. And, you know, I love Kathie Fitzpatrick to death, man. You know, without her and the rest of the people that took care of me on the road so my mom could work to give her fans that's what my mom was born to do.
Mm-hmm.
And she did it well. She did it better than most, if not better than the rest.
Nobody knows the childhood my mom had, man. My mom had a tough childhood, man.
She did.
You know, and she came back from that. Yeah, she left us, at a young age. I never forget that day. I had just moved here to Lafayette. I'm going to give you a little bit of insight on that. I moved to Lafayette to take care of my grandmother that, my dad's mom that had cancer. Mm-hmm. The day after I moved here, I find out, they actually put off treatments for my grandmother so I could go. The day after I moved here, I got to call that my mom passed away. The reflection, on that road trip that was just, looking back, thinking back over the years, the great thing, I'm blessed, honestly. I at any day, I could go on YouTube, look on my mom's career, see what she has done for all. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I hear the sirens in the background over here. But I have, and Kathie, they're not for me this time, I swear.
We're not in Chicago, babe.
Oh, yeah, that's just Mom's way of, showing she's here.
You know what? I actually wanted to pose a question to you guys after you, as we get to it later. I didn't mean to cut you off there. I wanted to get both of you guys' perspectives, both you, Jared and Kathie, about her Hall of Fame induction, that day in general. If you guys can recall how leading up to that, her infamous speech that she just had a blast doing, and I could tell she could. I was actually there in the audience.
Can I say something to that? I stood up. I'm sorry. I wasn't supposed to. I got chewed out for that.
Really?
Yeah. You don't understand what I heard from that. Yes, Kathie was sitting over there with us and everything like that. Kathie, thank you for being there all those years. I'm going to say that I've said some really mean things. I know I apologize to you every time I talk to you, probably. I love you, and I'm sorry for anything I've ever said. Thank you for being there, because without you being there, my mom wouldn't have been as comfortable with me around to put on the show that she did for her fans. And for that, thank you, baby.
I love you, kid.
It meant a lot. I spent a lot of time on the road with y'all. And, I'm going to tell you like this.
Jared, you relax for a second. I've got to tell you guys, the week before we were flying down there, I work in the doctor's office, okay? During that period, every morning I'm at work at 6 a.m., we do the New Jersey State Trooper physical. Every day, she would call me and go over a part of her speech with me. She told me what she was going to say about Pat Patterson, about this. She's telling me about the Pat Patterson part, and I'm like, oh, God. And then she's like, wait a second, I got to put something about you in there. I went, no, you don't.
Yeah.
I said, this is your time to shine, not mine. She goes, there isn't a time in my life, I don't remember you being there.
No.
I was like,
I go back over that. You've always been, from what I could remember, I could recall, you've always been there.
Yeah.
I've always heard your name.
And when she said what she did, at that time, I was working a lot with ECW, Paul Heyman. I knew a lot of the boys that were there. The funniest part was after she said everything, we were on the bus going back, and I remember CM Punk walking on the bus going, props at Hall of Fame.
Wow.
And I just started busting laughing. Later on, the next day, I think it was, or whenever, I see Tommy Dreamer. And he and Stevie Richards were standing there. And I've known them from when they started their career in ECW. And Tommy's looking, laughing, going, 20 years in this business, and you get props at Hall of Fame. And I just sit there and I'm like,
yeah.
Okay. You know, but that's the way she was. She was not going to forget anybody.
And,
you know, that's the way she was.
There's another person I got to bring up that hasn't been brought up in this conversation that she worked with. I don't know. That it's kind of, you know, and Kathie, you weren't there, but have you seen the video from my mom's funeral?
No,
I can't see that. No.
One of the guys, I'm not going to say what was said or anything like that, but if you hear this, Jake Roberts,
yes.
I love you. You made my day that day. You actually made me smile.
Mhm.
Jake made a couple of comments at the funeral that totally just, yeah.
I know Jake loves your mom a lot.
Only Jake loves my mom to death. As you know, they love being around each other. My mom called him a slime ball from the day I was on the road, and my mom has always called him a slime ball. My mom loved Jake to death, and Jake, thank you. You know, that was my mom's last show.
Oh.
And, you know,
I actually wanted to let you know, too, Jared. I'm not sure if you were aware. A few years ago, before Jake making his transformation, he had his management team make up a website for him. I don't know if it still exists, where he actually showed some poetry that he wrote, and he actually dedicated one of them to your mom.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys remember that or seen that, but I thought that was very, you know, and that's where it tell me right there that your mom and him got along really good.
And, you know, another guy that, you know, that made a big impact with Mom and everything, you know, and he's no longer with us either, was Boss Man.
Yeah.
You know, I remember them. You know, Boss Man was such a great guy. I actually have, my mom was artistic. My mom drew up her outfits. My mom used to sketch and patch, and I have sketches that some of the boys did in my mom's sketch pads, and I have these, and a lot of the guys aren't here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's like, and for some reason they always had some kind of caption and some little bubble above their head apologizing for something that they did and got fined for by Vince. It's, you know, it's like, you know, everybody knows, you know, Mom had her, you know, everybody in that business has their demons. And I have one that's the little girl skunk from Pepe Le Pew. And, you know, it's Mom. And I can picture in her voice, you know, just in her little voice, the way she used to talk, you know, please, Vince, I swear I'll never do it again. Whenever I'm reading this, and I look through this every now and then, and I laugh my ass off. Just, you know, I could picture my mom saying this stuff. You know, yeah, by no means was my mom perfect, but you know something? She gave the fans everything she had.
Amen.
She did.
When when we were in Chicago for the Hall of Fame, they had that breakfast, bagels, brunch, biceps thing.
I remember those. I was there for that.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so Sherri got me up after drinking the night before, and she's like, "You're coming," and I'm like, I need juice. I need something. And I'm sitting there. It was not a good morning. Never go drinking with Nunzio or Kyoto. It's not a good thing. And so I got up and we went. And there was a lot of, I think there were children from Make-A-Wish Foundation. Were there?
Yeah.
All the other guys were like, oh, yeah, we're going. We're leaving. Bye-bye. Sherri and I stood there, and Jimmy Hart, and she sat, she signed, she talked to every.
Yes.
There was like 8 tables that just wanted to see Sherri. They didn't care about the guys up there. They wanted to talk to Sherri.
Yes.
And she sat with every
single
table and talked.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know if you ever met him, Aunt Kathie. There was a little guy. I remember his name, Patrick. He was in a wheelchair in Alabama, and I think his mom's name is Miss Pat. And,
I remember that.
my mom, my mom would actually I'd actually sleep at their house. My mom had fans in this business that, some of the fans she actually trusted me with.
Mm-hmm.
That's very good. That's very special.
Yeah, and for fans to bring me into their family like that, it's like whenever I would go to Alabama, and that's what a lot of people didn't understand about my mom, man. My mom was always simple. Living right there in McCullough, Alabama, the only time she moved out of where she grew up, where Grandma lived, is whenever she had to be by an airport or she had to be by an office, or the only time she moved. You gotta understand, my mom moved wherever she had to for the business. It wasn't because she wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
My mom sacrificed so much of her life. You know how much time we weren't able to spend together so the fans could have what they had of. I'm going to tell you like this. I shared my whole life with this business. My mom's life was dedicated to her fans.
And that's what people still love about her even to this day.
Mm.
And any of the fans out there that got to spend time with my mom, remember those moments, cherish them, because she put her life on the line for y'all every day. There wasn't a day that she wasn't thinking about a costume, what she was going to say. My mom had that down to a science, and her career absolutely shows it. I can say, I might not have had as much time with her, but my mom will go down and has, my mom's a legend now.
Mm-hmm.
In wrestling, years from now, my mom will always be a legend.
There was an incident. You guys all know the story when Brutus and Hogan were on the boat and Brutus got hurt, right?
Yep, I heard about
and
that.
Face,
I read about that too.
Yeah. Basically smashed.
Mm-hmm.
I remember calling Sherri, and she knew about it. She flew to the hospital, and I remember Brutus telling me this. He remembers waking up and going, "What in the heck is that?" She was standing there with a 4-foot teddy bear.
Aww.
To make him feel better.
Oh, that's awesome.
What
and there was, hilarious.
Jack, I can tell you this. Sherri would always introduce me as her sister.
Yeah,
I believe that.
And Mom was a mother figure to a lot of these boys, and Paul White, for instance.
Oh yeah.
Whenever Paul first came into the business, he stuck out like a sore thumb. You couldn't miss him. He had an interview. he had an interview to do, and he didn't have his full gear. Mom is a stickler about being in full gimmick. Well, you know how hard it is to find a pair of boots big enough, spur of the moment, to fit him?
Oh my God!
She did
I can only imagine.
My mom got him his, a pair of boots. He's, Paul's a great guy.
Yeah, he definitely is. He definitely seems like he's a real easygoing guy, and fun behind the scenes, away from the ring. He looks like he's a lot of fun to hang out with.
And I'm gonna say this, because I don't know how much longer this is gonna last, but any of y'all have any questions? I will say this, I don't mind y'all hitting me up on Facebook. He has my Facebook. He could post it if he needs. Any of y'all would like to get in touch with me, feel free. I will get back to the posts. I'll get back to any questions. Just keep in mind, that was my mother. Be respectful.
Mm-hmm.
And Kathie will not be able to control me.
Let me put it
if
this
you
way.
say something
I may be
out
in
of
Jersey.
line.
Anybody ever says anything bad, there was an incident right after Sherri passed. Some girl had started spreading a rumor that she called everybody to say goodbye the night before. I was at a convention.
No, I'm gonna tell you like this.
No, Jared, honey, let me finish this.
Really?
I'll beat your butt, boy. I'm older. I grabbed this girl, and I said to her, what did you say? I said, why are you spreading this rumor? And she looked at me, she goes, I said, no. Too many of the boys have said this.
Yep.
She was my friend. She was my sister in the wrestling business. She was my sister on the road. I took shots from this woman in ECW when they were going to do an angle with me. Thank God they never did. And I drank with this woman. The one night, we were in Baltimore for her birthday. It was a pay-per-view. We were in the bar. We found out that night was the night that Eddie Gilbert died.
Oh, wow. I remember that.
Eddie Gilbert was my boss, my first boss in ECW. I went downstairs. She's like, where are you going? I said, I've got to walk. I went downstairs to the bar. She said, 3 of the boys down to get me and physically dragged me up to the room. I was just sitting there crying. We were out when she came into Philly. I had a very bad depression when Sherri Martel died. She flew in for the funeral. I think you remember this, Jared, when I called. She flew in for the funeral. She told me the next day, she was with WCW at the time, that she could not go to the funeral because WCW needed her. She finally told me years later she didn't have the strength to do what I did.
I can only imagine. It's crazy.
Sherri was the most incredible woman ever.
She was.
We had her. There was one night I came home from my office. There were 16 messages on my voicemail. She was in Nova Scotia working. She was bored. 16 messages. She said, please call me. I've watched Signs of the Lambs 21 times.
I don't care. Hey, and my mom. It's her book collection. Saying Silence of the Lambs, her book collection. If there was my mom was intrigued on watching anything. My mom had a really twisted, reading Silence of the Lambs. Anything about the books that my mom had were like serial killers, stuff like that. That's my okay. My mom brings my mom actually sits me down as a young teenager. Okay, This is why I say she was more like a best friend than a mom. Who sits their kid down and watches a gore concert?
Wow.
Wow. I still look at them on stage now as an adult and go, damn, did they really just do that? That's why I loved my mom was one of a kind. And just, y'all please don't ever let her, don't ever let my mom's
she will her legacy, her memory will continue on.
Don't ever let her legacy.
No.
Don't.
It'll never happen.
But,
I can tell you that right.
I'm sorry to say this, guys, but I'm fixing to have to get off of here. But like I was telling y'all earlier, y'all could hit me on Facebook, Jared Gonzales. At Facebook, it's JARGONZALES. Y'all go ahead and hit me up. Any questions? Just make sure it's appropriate.
I couldn't have said it better myself, man.
Because for real, I will stick a fiery redhead on you, and
That would be me.
Yeah, because you really don't want to hear. You really don't want to hear what comes out of my mouth.
You know what?
Felix,
I just say,
Felix,
yes,
if you want me to stay on, I can.
Say what?
We'll keep you on for a few minutes. Jared, I know you said you have to go, but I wanted to mention to you both
I gotta
on behalf of Austin, I wanted to thank you both for taking time to come on here and remember such a super lady that meant a lot to not just you guys, but us as fans. And remember and tell some great stories. It really means a lot that you guys would do that for us.
And before I get off the phone, I'm going to tell y'all, thank y'all, the fans. Y'all are the ones that made my mom who she was. Because if it wouldn't be for the fans, my mom wouldn't have been even a spot on the map compared to what she was. My mom was able to feel everybody's lives, with that y'all allowed my mom to give y'all that person that y'all love to hate. And I thank y'all. I appreciate that.
We thank you for sharing her with us, Jared.
Because they're the ones that made my childhood and my memories of my mom as great as they were. Thank you.
I want to say, I can't even explain to you guys how honored I am to be in this, this tribute to your mom, and when I was listening to you guys talk about this, everything, it's amazing, and I want to thank you two. I mean, y'all are so great, and to have spent your life with this woman who's just so beautiful and so just larger than life, and bringing you, Jared, to be able to share her with us, that's just amazing. Because without her, there's so many moments that she created that we've had the opportunity to be able to watch, and it's thank you so much for sharing your mom with us.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All right, well, I gotta go, y'all. Thank y'all.
You take care, Jared. Take care, man.
All right, not a problem. Send me a IM later on. And I'll get back with you.
Sure, that's not a problem.
All right. Thank you, sir. Have a good day. Love you, Kat.
Love you.
Bye.
You know, as I was saying to Kathie, for you guys to take some time to come on and remember such a super lady. And I know that you've been around, like you were saying, you were traveling around quite a bit with not just Sherri, but you had quite other friends as well in the wrestling business. And I know you have tons of stories and looking back and just smiling, because although it hurts, you remember with a smile what kind of person you were. And I think that's not anything else, how we could look back on Sherri, because I know she loved to be bad. She was good at it. But those moments away from the ring that you got to be with her on the road are what the moments you get to cherish the most.
Exactly. I mean, there were times when she'd say, hey, listen, there's a plane ticket at the airport for you. And I'm like, oh, there's a what, where? And she flew me down to Alabama for Halloween one year. When she flew me down to Florida for a weekend. We were doing a convention. She was doing a convention, and she wanted to take some pictures, like with Chris Daniels, CM Punk. And when she got the picture, CM Punk got the biggest smile on his face and went, Fitz, that's what everyone calls me, Fitz, can you take a picture with me, please, please? I'm so glad she wanted that picture. Everybody wanted to mark out to get a picture with Sherri.
I know I was definitely trying myself when we were out in Chicago. Where the crowd was so crazy, because I was during that breakfast that you were talking about, and I was trying to get my way in there, and I was able to at least get a handshake. But I don't know if she actually seen me, but I was trying to put my hand out there just to, hey, I'm glad I was here to be part of that, because I know during that Hall of Fame class, there was a lot of standouts, but above anything else, it had to be Sherri. Her induction that night was by far one of my favorites, if not my favorite for that year, alongside with Bobby Heenan. Those two were definitely two people who I enjoyed hearing them talk, because they just did it so well.
And then, I don't know if you guys know, but the most awesome thing last year at WrestleMania, when it was in New Jersey, was when Booker talked about
I was there
Sherri.
for that. Yes.
I was there too.
Yes, I bet you were. It was in your backyard.
When he turned around and he started talking about it, because Charmel had told me earlier what he was going to say, and friends of mine, I was sitting with them, and they were just like, yeah, you're going to be crying. I went, yep, I am. But that was Sherri. There was not one person's life she touched.
I can agree with that. I
will ever forget it.
Absolutely. And, as I was telling Jared, I'll tell you the same thing, because I've been in contact with you guys leading up to the show. It takes a lot, because, it's only been 7 years. But you know what? You guys still love this woman to death and always will. And it doesn't get any easier. Losing anybody that means that much to you, it doesn't get easy. But the fact that you guys are able to come on with us and just talk about some good times. Remember her with love and with a smile on your face, because as Jared was saying, she loved to pull pranks on him quite a bit, and and just have fun with life. She had a lot of fun in life, and you know what? We'll always remember that. We'll always remember how good she was at being bad. And
that's what she lived for.
And she did. And some people are gifted at so many things. As Jared said, she was meant for that, and she did it well. And Kathie, I know that you have a Facebook as well, but do you have any other social media that you keep up with, or is it just Facebook for now?
I'm on Twitter.
Oh, you are?
Awesome. Yeah.
If people wanted to follow you on Twitter?
That's fine. Okay. It's just Kathie Fitzpatrick. On Twitter.
Okay.
And my Facebook is also there, and I also, like I said, if you have questions or anything or whatever, just be respectful.
Okay, absolutely. And on behalf of Austin and myself, Kathie, I can't thank you enough for coming on with us.
Thank you so much.
This will be available in our YouTube channel here very soon. Once it does become available, it'll always be there anytime you guys want to hear it. Want to listen back to it. disregard the snide comment from the fan, but I think that upset us more than it upset you guys. That we're trying to be as respectful as anything to remember her with love and with affection, because we were entertained. We were one of the millions of people that she entertained. But like I said, it's going to be there forever and ever, and you guys will always have access to it. And if that or something comes up and it's not there, let me know. We'll get to the bottom.
And thank you so much for remembering her.
It is our honor and our privilege.
Absolutely.
Okay, you guys have a great time. Thank you so much for including me on this.
We're more than happy to have you. Have yourself a blessed day.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Hi, Austin. Moments throughout that show, I kind of got a little teary-eyed myself because I could feel their pain. Losing a loved one is never easy. And
you
touched
just
so
listening
many
to this
lives.
beforehand, before the interview and stuff, and the tribute show, I've had, respect for Sherri, but now I have it's like on a different level, Because you hear it from the people that she knows best, and people she revolves her life around, and it makes you respect her that much more than what you probably did beforehand.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. I wish we could have played more of the clips, but you know what? For what we were able to play, and even just bring up the idea of talking about it, then I was going to put the one with her and Moolah, and it just unfortunately it didn't work out that way. But for what it was, and just to be a part of it, and just to sit here with two people who love this woman to death, probably more than we could ever love her, it touched my heart and also made me smile, because I've watched her. I've been a fan of hers for 25 years, and I didn't get the chance to watch her work in AWA. Could now as an adult on YouTube and even probably with WWE Network. But that's what I was trying to mention to him too as well. With the WWE Network, new generations get reintroduced to who she was, her genius on television. Paving the way for women of today, really. So I'm just proud to be able to do this.
Definitely, and the statement here about the making, and there's been few women's managers. Like a manager, I'm talking about a person who, the ones that stick out that the most. But there are few that's been around, did some great things. But there's only a select that you actually remember, that you're never going to forget. There's ones that they're going to get brought up in conversations, talking about the best women's managers of all time. And Sensational Sherri is definitely in that list, and definitely on the top. I mean, she is the top of the line. I think honestly, she has to be at least the greatest, one of the greatest of all time. I'm not saying it to slate anybody, any other women's managers. There's been some amazing ones. But she sticks out as one of the absolute best, and she always will. She was actually on, and I forgot to mention this, she was on the top 10 best talkers in Trash Talkers on W Countdown. Yeah,
she was. I remember that. I watched that episode. I don't think there's anybody that could have been as good a talker as her as far as in the female division. I mean, not necessarily just because she was a female. I mean, there was a lot of good talkers. She was in great company back then. Guys like Piper, guys like Hogan, guys like Savage. Just to name a few. Because there's so many of them during that era that were such great talkers. But,
and one thing about her, I think that there's some managers that they fit in a certain time frame the best. I think Sensational Sherri could have, if she would have, she would have still lived on, and I think she could have still been in that top place as a women's manager, managing people, even though it's in this generation.
Hopefully
I think
they do a top 10 managers of all time, What do you think?
Well, no, it's next to them. They're doing the top 10 best women women in WWE. The top 10 of the best people. Yeah, next weekend on WWE Countdown. I'm not sure what they're calling them, but it's the top 10 best women wrestlers in WWE. There's a different title for it. I can't remember what it was though.
It's okay. No, you know what? Once I find it, I'll be posting pictures on the page, because I actually do run the Sherri Martel page alongside a very good friend of mine who's allowed me to join him on this journey with that page, and the reaction, the people love her so much on that page. I mean, they love her in general, but I mean, just to relive a lot of the memories that she lived and shared. Jared actually follows the page. Kathie follows the page. You know, and a lot of people, even Charmel, Booker's wife, follows a page. You know, just to name a few people that I can just think off the top of my head right now. But, you know, her legacy, that's what I said for Jarrett, he'll never have to worry about her legacy disappearing, going away. There's just no way that it could ever happen. There's just no way.
She worked for that, and I always mention this, and I swear I feel this so much when I say it, but that when you die, it's not about money, because when your dad doesn't go in the ground with you, you work to make your life people remember you, your life a legacy that people will never forget. And Sherri Martel it made her legacy that nobody will ever forget. And I swear to God, she was one of the absolute best, and I cannot say how much of a legacy she has, and when that's going to live on forever. I mean, it's so great to know that too, because she worked so hard to do that. You know, she didn't get into it, towards the, when she was like a teenager or something. She's been a part of it, like watching it since she was a child. I mean, every single day of her life was revolved around the business of professional wrestling, and all her fans, And that's what made her stick out, because if you show that you love your fans, they're going to return the love for you, no matter if they have to boo you or not. They know who she is.
I couldn't have said it better myself, man. We're going to go ahead and call it a wrap. On behalf of all of us here, we really do hope you guys enjoyed what we were able to bring to you today, honoring such a super lady and looking back on her career and her legacy she left behind, and her family, who definitely still, it still hurts. And you know what? I hope that we were able to make them smile just a little bit more today, even though it still does hurt. But Jared, Kathie, we thank you so much. It really meant a lot that you could be here with us. With that, we're going to bring it to a close. We do have our Tuesday show coming up with former TNA announcer Todd Kendley, current Championship Wrestling from Hollywood commentator as well. He will be joining us this Tuesday night. But we'll go ahead and call it a close on behalf of Austin and myself for Pipebomb Radio. Saying keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars, guys. Good night, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Talk to you soon, Austin.
Bye, man.
All right.